what is up? It is I, James Penrose here for video 137 on my channel, and this video, as you can tell from the title down below, is going to be once again another Simpsons episode review for you guys watching. And this one is once again going to be coming from season 2, because there's a lot of great episodes in that season, that without fail. And this episode is entitled Dead Putting Society. And this is going to be a long episode review because there's going to be a lot of positive things that I'm going to be mentioning out in terms of funny moments and the storyline. So just relax and enjoy this episode review. So here it goes. So basically how this episode starts out, and it starts off kind of funny when Homer's pissed off because he's mowing the lawn one day, obviously to his frustration, he's not happy, and Ned Flanders offers him a drink, pretty much to his basement, down in his basement, and when Homer sees his basement, he's pretty much amazed by how posh and how cool it looks. You know, he has a pool table in there, he has the whole lot, he has a bar thing going on with beer in there. It's awesome, and all of a sudden, Ned is, Ned's wife pretty much comes down, bakes the guy some sandwiches, and, you know, Ned's kissing Maud, and Todd comes, and he's like, "Thanks for helping me with my science project, Dad," and Todd says, "Oh, I have the best dad in the whole world," and then right at there, when Ned's laughing in joy, that's when Homer starts to get pissed off, because he's pretty much getting the impression that Ned is showing off, that, you know what, I'm the better dad, Homer, what can you do, because you can't do nothing. That's the message that Homer was getting. And when Ned said, "Oh, kids can be a joy sometimes," I think that's what he said, somewhat along the lines of that, and that's when Homer just snaps, and he's like, "Alright, knock it off!" And Ned's like, "What the hell's going on?" And Homer's like, "Oh, you've been rubbing it in my nose ever since you got here. Oh, your wife's butt is higher than my wife's butt. You make me sick." And when he said that was so funny, "Your wife's butt is higher than my wife's butt," I tell you what, I cracked up right there. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did. And when he said, "Oh, you make me sick," and then at that point, Ned was also mad. He was like, "You know what, Simpson? I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I hope you understand." And he pretty much said, "Oh, I got the message loud and clear." Well, he didn't say it, but along the lines of that. He ends up drinking the beer still as he leaves. He's like, "Ooh," and then he walks off, which was funny as well. So then we hit a segment where Marge and Homer are both in bed, and Homer pretty much can't sleep. You know, he's biting his pillow, saying everything, because he's pissed off pretty much, telling Marge, "You know what, oh, well, he said, oh, you know what, it wasn't really so much what he said, it was how he said it. The message was loud and clear. Our family stinks, his is the greatest," pretty much. And Marge really wasn't buying what he was saying. She was like, "Oh, well, I've never heard Ned to be so much, you know, of this, you know, mean. I mean, he's pretty much a perfect human being." And Homer's like, "Oh, well, he's perfect now, is he? No, you were right the first time, he's perfect." And Homer is still pretty pissed off, and he goes outside for a walk, and as he's doing that, as he walks past the Flanders house, we see Ned and Maud in bed, and Ned can't sleep pretty much. He's regretting the fact that he kicked up Homer out of his basement, out of his house pretty much. So what does he do? He calls Reverend Lovejoy, like he always do. If you've seen previous episodes, you know that that's what he normally does. He calls Reverend Lovejoy for advice. And after that talk that he had, you know, it was a heart-to-heart talk with them two because they're close friends. It inspired Ned to actually write a letter, you know, a heart-fought, warm letter, pretty much telling Homer how much, you know, "I respect you, I love you, you are my brother, I feel a great sadness at your bosom." And it was funny because, like, when Homer sees Ned Flanders, you know, just putting the door down on the doorstep, Homer just loses it. He's like, "Ned!" And Ned's just pretty much like, "You know what, I don't want any trouble, I just want to give you this letter." And when Homer sees it, he laughs his fucking arse off. And when he reads it to the whole family, other than Marge, the rest of the family are also laughing their asses off. When he reads, "I feel a great sadness in my bosom," and everyone's just laughing, and Marge is not having it. Even though when she goes back and, you know, she's laughing in private, in reality, she's not happy. She's like, "Oh, well, you know what, I wish this family was as close as the Flanders' family." And Bart is really on one. He's like, "Oh, bosom, lol." Pretty much mocking what Ned said. And then Homer's like, "You know what, I'm going to take what Marge is saying to heart," and pretty much decides to take Bart and Lisa out to miniature golf. And when he gets there, and they're having a good time, and only to realise that Ned and Todd are also there. And when Ned spots Homer, he's like, "Oh, this is the perfect opportunity to follow up on my letter." And while that's happening, Homer is pretty much struggling on a course, you know, on a hole, you know, where he has to put the hole up this hill and go through the guy's mouth, a big mouth, and he keeps missing, and he's raging and raging, and Todd comes in for Bart, and Homer's like, oh, you know what, that shot is impossible, and Todd's like, oh, well, you know what, Mr. Simpson, the best strategy is to play conservatively. I mean, you do that, it might not go in, but you set yourself up for an easy deuce, and he puts it, and it actually goes in, and Todd's like, huh, well, it went in. As in, like, again, like, Ned was not really trying to do... I mean, that's not what Ned was doing before, attempting to do, which was to show off. But again, that's the impression that Homer was getting, that them two are showing off, showing that, hey, we're better than you, what can you do? And again, Homer's still pissed off about it. He hasn't gotten over that one bit, and throughout the whole entire episode, he has never gotten over that. He hates Flanders' guts, and everything about the Flanders family, he hates their guts. And just as they're about to leave, Bart and Todd discover that there's going to be a miniature golf tournament coming up with a top prize of $50, sorry, and 3 balloons for everyone that enters. That's what I was meant to say. Lol. 50 balloons, what the fuck? And pretty much they're interested in joining. Pretty much they want to enter the competition, and Bart's father, Homer's like, you know what, my son's going to enter the tournament, and what's more important is that he's going to win. And Bart is like, whoa, what the hell? You're forcing me to win? Well, he pretty much is like, you know, I've never won anything in my life. And Ned is pretty much saying, you know what, don't underestimate my Todd, he's awfully good. And Homer's like, well, I think the flute of my loins can beat the flute of your loins any day of the week. And it builds up to a heated rivalry, and when they're having milkshake, Homer and Bart, when they're having milkshake together at Krusty Burger, I believe, Bart is trying to explain, you know what, Dad, I've never won anything in my life. I can't do this. And Homer's like, you know what, son, this is the only time I'm ever going to say this. It is not okay to lose. And the build-up starts from there. And pretty much Homer is pretty much forcing him to get intense, pretty much get fired up against Todd, which is his rival, or that's what it's supposed to be for Homer. Homer is really excited for this because he even said to Marge, this is our big chance to show off the Flanderers like they've been doing to us. Or at least that's what he's been thinking. But how Bart was training for this was not in the way Homer wanted, but in the way Lisa wanted it. Because she taught Bart how to pretty much put in golf in terms of psychologically, you know, the mental mind. It's all up here. That's what Lisa was trying to teach him. Pretty much where you put on walls and they're going to go side to side and they'll go in perfectly. You know, it'll all work perfectly if you just put your mind to it and you think outside the box. Unlike Homer's advice, which is just to get fired up, get intense, you know, hate Todd, you know, he's your rival, he's your enemy. I want you to stare at his picture for 10-15 minutes, and I want you to stare and get mad and think how glorious it'll be when you and your putter named Charlene. That was also quite funny, because there was a part where Bart throws his putter down like he doesn't give a shit, and Homer's like, you know what, give this putter a name, you put some effort into this name, and Bart's like, Mr. Putter. And Homer's like, oh, you want to try a little harder, son? And then he finally comes to the conclusion of, alright, your putter's name is Charlene, and that was a funny spot. But back to the training Bart was doing, you know, pretty much going with Lisa, almost in like, because Lisa's pretty much a Buddhist, well, it wasn't exposed in that episode, it was exposed like seasons later, but before that we could kind of tell. And with the meditation and the studying Bart's been doing on golf, you would think that coming up to the tournament, he would pretty much kick ass against Todd. It wasn't so much the case, we'll get into that later. So, it's just the day before the tournament, you know, the finals, and it gets even more tense in terms of the rivalry between the Flanderses and the Simpsons, in terms of Homer and Ned, the fathers, because the stakes were raised. And what I mean by that is, Homer pretty much said, well, I'm willing to make a bet on this, pretty much that if my son wins tomorrow, you have to mow my lawn. And Ned's like, oh, okay, well, if you lose, you have to mow my lawn. And pretty much is like, oh, well, you have to mow my lawn in your wife's Sunday dress. So whoever, the father of the boy who doesn't win has to mow their lawn in the wife's Sunday dress. That's pretty much the forfeit, pretty much. Whoever loses, the father has to do that. And pretty much, they sign the contract, and Ned's like, oh my god, what have I done? Because you wouldn't think he would be going into this kind of stuff, into a rivalry with Homer. just over 2 kids playing golf, pretty much. But this is quite funny. You hit the finals, you hit the tournament, and I love this. And I was kind of mad at first, because I don't like it when things end in the draw, but it made sense storyline-wise, because it ended off on a funny note. You hit the finals, where Bart and Todd go one-on-one in the finals, and they both do pretty well throughout all the 17 holes, you know, they're putting the balls in. And when you hit the 18th hole, because there's 18 holes in one game, you hit the 18th hole, and I love this, because it's neck and neck. It's this close. You cannot call it. and it's just one shot left in it. Whoever gets it in next wins. And Todd said, Bart's like, you know what, Todd, this is pretty tense, isn't it? And Todd's like, yeah, you know what? Ooh, we're too good for each other. What's the stress all about? And Bart's like, what's up? Let's just quit, you know, let's just call it a draw. And they both negotiate it over each other and say to the judges, look, we've decided that we're equally good and we want to call this a draw. And he announces, yo, we have a draw. And they both win $50, which is cool, because it wouldn't make any sense for it to be a draw and then to win nothing. That would make no sense. So it ends a draw, and you would think right there that would end the rivalry between Homer and Ned. Oh, no, it didn't, because Homer was still mad. Because Ned was like, oh, it's a draw, neither of our boys lost. You know what, put it there, pal. And Homer's like, oh, you're going to weasel out of our bet now, are you, Flanders? And it turned out that because it was a draw, they both have to mow each other's lawns in their wife's Sunday dress. And what was funny about this, just for the fact that Ned absolutely loved the attention he was getting. Even though people were laughing at him and making fun of him, he absolutely loved it. Homer, to his frustration, absolutely hated it. He looked over to his right and he's seen Flanders enjoying it. And he's like, oh my god, he's enjoying this? Really? And Ned's like waving to the people, hi everybody, hi, how you doing? And that was a funny ending right there. And it ends there on a funny note. So that's pretty much the story and the conclusion and the funny spots I pointed out during this episode. It was a great episode, and that really sparked, you know, Homer's hate for Ned Flanders. That really solidified it in this episode, and that's what I love to see. And in most episodes as well, you know, in the episode called Homer Loves Flanders, where Homer, instead of actually hating on him, he kind of wants to bond together with him this time, but it becomes a bit over-obsessive and a bit, you know, over the top. But I might do an episode review of that later on, because that was also a pretty good episode. That was in Season 5. I might review that later on. So, other than that, guys, thank you guys for watching this Simpsons episode review. Make sure you guys like this video, comment on this video, and the most important thing is to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that so much. Subscribe to Alex Wilkinson and Connor Kenway, two friends of mine. The links will be down in the description so you can subscribe to them. And other than that, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm James Penrose. All I can say is, peace out, my brothers.